The morning sun streamed through the large window of the design studio, catching the dust motes dancing in the air. My name is Leo, and most days, I love working here. The space is bright, usually filled with the quiet hum of computers and the occasional creative discussion. My desk? Well, it reflects my process, maybe. A controlled chaos of sketch pads, different colored pens, reference printouts, and an empty coffee mug that's probably been there since yesterday. I was sketching a new logo concept, lost in the flow of lines, when Maya walked over. Maya is great. She's been here longer than me, super organized, and always seems calm. Her own desk is the complete opposite of mine, neat, tidy, everything. In its place. "Morning, Leo," she said, peering over my shoulder. "That's looking interesting. Is that for the new cafe project?" "Yeah, just exploring some ideas," I replied, pushing a stack of papers aside to give her a better look. "Trying something a bit different." "Looks good," she nodded. "Hey, did you send off the final files for the Miller account yesterday? Sarah was asking about them." "Oh yeah, sent them off right before I left," I said, maybe a bit too casually. I remembered exporting them quickly, wanting to head home after a long day. I double-checked the file name, I thought. That account, Miller Construction, was important. They were one of our bigger clients. "Okay, cool. Just checking?" Maya smiled and went back to her workstation. I went back to my sketch, but a tiny seed of doubt started to sprout in my mind. Did I check the resolution settings? I usually do, but yesterday felt rushed. Nah, it's probably fine, I told myself. I always get it right in the end. My talent usually makes up for any small slips. About an hour later, the atmosphere shifted. Sarah stepped out of her office, her expression unreadable. Sarah's usually fair, and she appreciates creativity, but she has zero tolerance for unprofessionalism. When she's serious, you know it. "Leo," she called out, her voice calm but firm. It cut through the quiet studio buzz. "Could I see you in my office, please?" My stomach did a nervous little flip. This didn't sound like a great job. On that sketches kind of meeting. I got up, trying to look composed, and followed her into the small glass-walled office. The door clicked shut behind me, muffling the sounds from the main studio. Sarah sat down behind her clean, organized desk, another contrast to mine, and gestured for me to take the chair opposite her. She didn't waste time. "Leo," she began, folding her hands on the desk. "We have a problem with the Miller project files you sent yesterday." My heart started beating faster. "A problem? What kind of problem?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "The wrong kind," she said bluntly. "You sent the low-resolution proofs, the ones marked for review only. Not the final print-ready files. The print shop caught it this morning, just before they were about to start the run. They called the client directly, confused. The client then called me, understandably upset. I felt the blood drain from my face. Low-resolution files? For print? That was a huge mistake. A stupid, careless mistake. How could I have done that? I pictured the folder on my computer, the final print folder right next to the web proofs folder. In my rush to leave, I must have clicked the wrong one, zipped it up, and sent it without that crucial final check. "Sarah, I am so sorry," I stammered. "I don't know how that happened. I thought I checked." "That's the issue, Leo," Sarah interrupted, her gaze sharp but not angry, more disappointed. And that felt worse. "It's not the first time. We've had issues with details on your projects. Remember the typo on the Benson banner, or the incorrect color codes for the online ads last month? Each time you fixed it, each time you said it wouldn't happen again. She paused, letting the silence hang in the air. I felt terrible. She was right. I'm creative. I have good ideas. But sometimes the final details, the boring but essential checks, trip me up, especially when I feel pressured or rushed. I value your creativity, Leo, she continued, her voice softening slightly. But the studio's reputation relies on professionalism and reliability. We almost lost the Miller account today because of this carelessness. We can't afford mistakes like this. I braced myself for what was coming next. Was this it? Was I fired? She looked me straight in the eye. I'm going to be very clear. I need those correct print-ready files delivered to the client and the print shop before 9 a.m. tomorrow. Perfectly checked. No excuses. Consider this your one last chance, Leo. Show me you can take responsibility, focus, and deliver work we can. Trust, consistently. If you can't do that, then this isn't the right place for you. One last chance. The words hit me hard. Not just a warning, but an ultimatum. The casual atmosphere of the morning felt a million miles away. This wasn't just about fixing a file. It was about proving I deserved to be here, pursuing the career I dreamed of. The weight of that chance settled heavily on my shoulders as I nodded slowly. I understand, Sarah, I managed to say, my voice barely a whisper. I'll fix it. Properly. You can count on me. She held my gaze for another moment, then nodded curtly. Okay, go get started. I walked out of her office, my legs feeling a bit shaky. The bright studio seemed different now, the pressure palpable. I sat back down at my messy desk, the half-finished sketch suddenly looking unimportant. I had a serious problem to solve, and failure wasn't an option. My one last chance had begun. Sitting back at my desk felt like being under a spotlight. Sarah's words, "one last chance," echoed in my head, loud and clear. Panic tried to bubble up, that tight feeling in my chest when things go wrong. Shame washed over me too. Shame that I'd been so careless, that I'd let Sarah and the team down, and that I'd put my own job, a job I genuinely loved, at risk. This wasn't just any job. It was my first real step into the design world. I wanted to be part of. Losing it felt unthinkable. I took a deep breath, trying to push the panic down. Okay, Leo, focus. Panicking won't fix anything. Sarah said 9 a.m. tomorrow. That gives me the rest of today and tonight if needed. First step, find the correct files and understand exactly what needs to be done. I navigated through the project folders on my computer. Miller Construction, Final Assets. There it was. My file structure wasn't as messy as my desk, thankfully, but my naming convention could be better. I saw the folder I'd zipped and sent, Web Proofs V3, and right next to it, mocking me, sat Print Ready Final V2. Why version 2? Had I made further changes I didn't save properly in the print folder? My heart sank a little further. This might not be as simple as just sending the other folder. I opened the Print Ready Final V2 file. The main design looked okay, crisp and high resolution, but as I zoomed in, checking the details, something I clearly should have done yesterday, I noticed a problem. One of the key background images, a photograph of a building site supplied by the client, looked slightly pixelated, even in this supposedly print-ready version. How did I miss that? My mind raced. I remembered swapping that image late in the process. Did I forget to properly link the high-resolution version? I checked the links panel. Sure enough, the file path pointed to a low-resolution placeholder image I'd used temporarily. The original high-res photo file. Where did I save that? I started searching through my download folders, project subfolders, even my desktop, the digital equivalent of my messy physical desk. Minutes ticked by, each one feeling heavier. My initial panic threatened to return. This was exactly the kind of detail-oriented mess I sometimes created for myself. Rushing to meet a deadline, I'd taken a shortcut, used a placeholder, and then completely forgotten to replace it before making the final print file. Version 2 wasn't truly final. This meant I couldn't just send the existing file. I had to find the original high-resolution photo, replace the placeholder, and then meticulously re-export everything, checking every single setting: resolution, color profile, CMYK for print, not RGB for web, bleed settings for the print, shop. The task suddenly felt much larger, more prone to error under pressure. The temptation flickered. Maybe the client wouldn't notice the slightly blurry background. But Sarah's face immediately came to mind. One last chance. No cutting corners this time. It had to be perfect. Around mid-afternoon, Maya must have noticed the cloud of stress hanging over my desk. She came over quietly, her expression kind. "Everything okay, Leo?" she asked softly, keeping her voice low. "You look stressed." I let out a long sigh, running a hand through my hair. "I messed up, Maya. Big time." I explained the situation, sending the wrong files, the low-res image issue I'd just discovered. Sarah gave me one last chance to fix the Miller project, properly fix it by tomorrow morning. Maya winced in sympathy. "Oh no, that's tough. But you can do it, Leo," she said earnestly. Her confidence in me was a small boost, but also a reminder of the expectation. "You're talented. Just take a deep breath. Focus. Take your time now. Check everything twice, maybe 3 times. Remember why you wanted this job? You love the creative part, but this part, the careful part, it's just as important." Her words helped anchor me. She was right. Talent wasn't enough if the execution was sloppy. Responsibility mattered. Trust mattered. "Thanks, Maya," I said, managing a small smile. "I appreciate it. I just need to find that original photo file." "Check the client's original delivery email or folder," she suggested practically. "Sometimes they get buried." A good idea. I started digging through old emails and shared folders. The clock on my computer screen seemed to be ticking faster now. 4 Sanjur p.m. Then 4:30 p.m. People started packing up, the usual end-of-day chatter filling the studio. Sarah left her office, gave me a brief, unreadable look as she passed my desk, and headed out. The look wasn't angry, but it carried the weight of her earlier words. Finally, buried deep in an old download archive, I found it. Miller site, photo, high-res JPG. Relief washed over me, but it was quickly followed by the realization of how much work was still ahead. Replacing the image, checking alignments, meticulously going through the export settings, double-checking file formats, preparing the delivery emails. It was going to be a long night. As the last colleague left and the studio lights dimmed automatically, leaving only the focused glow of my desk lamp, I knew this was it. No more distractions. Just me, the computer, and the task that held my future at this studio. The pressure was immense, but underneath it, a spark of determination ignited. I wasn't going to waste this chance. The only sounds in the studio were the quiet hum of my computer and the frantic tapping of my own keyboard. Outside, the city lights reflected dimly on the dark windows. I checked the clock in the corner of my screen, 11:30 p.m. My eyes felt gritty from staring at the screen, and a dull ache had started in my shoulders. But exhaustion was a luxury I couldn't afford right now. I had finally replaced the low-resolution background image with the correct high-resolution file I'd found. Now came the hard part, ensuring every single detail was perfect for the print shop. This wasn't just about making it look good, it was about technical precision. I zoomed in, checking the alignment of text boxes, making sure logos were placed exactly according to the brand guidelines. I checked the color profile, CMYK, essential for printing, not the RGB used for screens. I checked the bleed, the extra margin around the edges that gets trimmed off after printing, ensuring all background elements extended far enough. It was slow, meticulous work. Each check felt like diffusing a tiny bomb. One wrong setting, one overlooked detail, and the whole thing could be ruined again. Self-doubt started whispering in my ear. What if I miss something else? What if I'm too tired to see straight? Maybe I'm just not cut out for this level of detail. My hand hovered over the mouse, my focus blurring for a second. I almost clicked save over the master file before completing a final vector check on the logo. A jolt of adrenaline shot through me as I caught myself. No! Don't get sloppy now, Leo. That could have undone hours of careful work. I pushed back from the desk, rubbing my tired eyes. I stood up, stretched, and walked over to the small kitchenette to get a glass of water. As I drank, I saw my reflection in the dark window, looking tired, stressed, but also determined. Maya's words echoed, "Just focus, take your time, double-check everything." And Sarah's stern face, her words, "One last chance." This wasn't just about avoiding getting fired. It was about proving to myself and to Sarah that I could be reliable, that my creativity could be matched with discipline. I took a deep, steadying breath and walked back to my desk. The panic had faded, replaced by a cold, clear focus. I wasn't going to let fatigue beat me. I sat down, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. Methodically, I went through every element one last time. I created a checklist in my head. Resolution? Check. Color profile? Check. Bleed? Check. Fonts embedded correctly? Check. Image links updated and correct? Check. As I focused with this new intensity, something amazing happened. I spotted a tiny inconsistency I hadn't noticed before. A small piece of text near the bottom was using a slightly different font weight than the rest of the paragraph. It was subtle, easily missed, especially when tired. In my usual rush, I definitely would have overlooked it. Finding and fixing that tiny error felt like a small victory. It proved I could do this. It showed that this level of focused attention worked. A surge of confidence, small but significant, warmed me. Okay, I can do this. I finished the remaining checks, my movements precise and deliberate. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, it was done. I saved the file, naming it carefully. Miller, print, ready, final, V3, corrected. Then, I exported the print-ready PDF, meticulously reviewing the export settings dialog box before clicking OK. I watched the progress bar slowly fill, holding my breath until it completed. Now came the final step. I opened my email client. I drafted a polite, professional email to Sarah, copying in the client contact and the print shop manager. I attached the large PDF file, watching the upload progress bar with a pounding heart. Everything depended on this file being perfect. The email was ready. The file was attached. My finger hovered over the send button. This was it. The culmination of hours of stressful, focused work. My one last chance, condensed into a single click. I hesitated for only a second, took one last deep breath, and clicked send. The email vanished from my outbox. It was gone. Sent. Out there. Nothing left to do now but wait. The studio felt incredibly quiet, the silence amplifying the nervous thrumming in my chest. I leaned back in my chair, utterly drained but with a sliver of hope. Had I done enough? Only tomorrow morning would tell. I barely slept. When my alarm went off, it felt like I'd only just closed my eyes. I arrived at the studio exceptionally early, the sky still a pale gray outside. The silence felt heavy with anticipation. I made coffee, my hands slightly trembling, and sat down at my desk. First thing, check emails. My heart leaped when I saw a reply from the print shop manager, sent just an hour ago. Subject, re-urgent, corrected Miller construction files. I clicked it open with bated breath. Hi, Leo. Thanks for sending these through so quickly. Files received and checked. They look perfect. We're starting the print run immediately to stay on schedule. Appreciate the fast turnaround. A wave of relief washed over me. So strong I felt dizzy for a second. Perfect. They looked perfect. That was one hurdle cleared. But the biggest one remained. Sarah. What would she say? Had the client responded yet? Maya arrived shortly after, giving me a questioning look as she saw me already there. I managed a small, tired smile and gave her a thumbs up. Files sent. Print shop confirmed they're good, I whispered. She smiled, back, a genuine, warm smile. Told you you could do it. The morning crawled by. Every time Sarah's office door opened, my stomach tightened. I tried to focus on other tasks, tidying up some old project folders on my computer, organizing my files with a new sense of purpose. It felt right. Like putting things in order externally reflected the internal shift I felt happening. I even started sorting through the piles of paper on my actual desk, throwing away old sketches and organizing pens. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Around 10:30 a.m., Sarah stepped out. Leo, can you come in for a moment? Her voice was neutral, impossible to read. My heart hammered against my ribs as I followed her back into the glass-walled office. The short walk felt like miles. I sat down in the same chair as yesterday, but today felt different. I was still nervous, incredibly nervous. But underneath it, there was a quiet knowledge that I had done my absolute best. I hadn't cut corners. I had faced the problem head-on. Sarah sat down and looked at her computer screen for a moment, then turned to me. Her expression was serious. I received confirmation from the print shop this morning, she began, her eyes meeting mine. And I also spoke with Mr. Miller about an hour ago. I held my breath. This was it. The files are correct now, Leo, she stated, her tone even. Everything is accurate. The resolution is right. The colors are spot on. The client is satisfied, and the project is back on track. I let out the breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. A huge weight lifted from my chest. "Thank you, Sarah," I said, my voice thick with relief. "Thank you, and I am truly sorry about the mistake yesterday. It won't happen again." Sarah nodded, slowly, her gaze unwavering. "You did good work fixing it, Leo. This time." The emphasis was clear. "You showed me you can be careful, meticulous even, when you understand exactly what's at stake. When you focus." She leaned forward slightly. "I meant what I said yesterday. This was your last chance. Don't make me regret giving it to you. I expect this level of attention, this commitment to detail, on all your projects from now on. Your creativity is valuable, but only when it's paired with reliability. Can you do that?" "Yes," I said immediately, meeting her gaze directly. "Yes, I can. You have my word." I knew it wouldn't be easy. It meant changing habits, being more organized, fighting the urge to rush. But the fear of yesterday, the feeling of letting everyone down, was a powerful motivator. "All right," Sarah said, leaning back. Her expression softened just a fraction. "Then let's move forward. You have the new cafe project briefing on your desk. Let's see what you can do with it. Carefully." A genuine smile finally broke through on my face. "Thank you, Sarah, really." I walked out of her office feeling lighter than air, but also grounded. I hadn't just kept my job, I'd learned something crucial. Back at my desk, my slightly tidier desk, Maya caught my eye and gave me another supportive nod. I nodded back, feeling a deep sense of gratitude for her quiet encouragement and for Sarah's firm but fair chance. I looked at the messy sketches still sitting there, the evidence of my creative process. But now I understood. The ideas were just the beginning. The real work, the professional work, was in bringing those ideas to life perfectly, reliably, respectfully. Talent wasn't enough on its own. It needed focus, discipline, and a deep sense of responsibility. This one last chance had been stressful, exhausting even, but it forced me to see that. It was a hard lesson, but a valuable one. And as I picked up the briefing for the new cafe project, I knew I wouldn't forget it.